Hello, everyone. My name is Kianna Dart. I currently live in the Rio Grande Valley in South Texas, but I'm originally from Farmington, New Mexico, which is a decently small town, really close to the Four Corners National Monument, where you can go and stand in New Mexico, Colorado, Utah, and Arizona all at the same time. I lived there until 2016 when I graduated high school and moved to Albuquerque, New Mexico to attend the University of New Mexico, where I pursued bachelor's degrees in both psychology and in intercultural communication. While working towards those degrees, I found myself working a lot in the nonprofit space before I even really knew what a nonprofit was. But I was working a lot with kids and like after school programs, summer camps, YMCA, things like that. And did so until I graduated from UNM in the spring of 2020, which was, of course, the beginning of COVID time. So I found myself looking for a job amongst everything else that was going on in the world. But I really wanted to find something that would encapsulate my interest in both psychology and in communication. So it was at that time that I stumbled into forensic interviewing, specifically at All Faiths Children's Advocacy Center in Albuquerque. They have a forensic interviewing program called the Children's Safe House. If you don't know what forensic interviews are, they're structured conversations between an interviewer and a child or an adult with developmental delays when there are allegations of abuse or when someone has witnessed a violent crime. These interviews are done in a child-friendly, developmentally appropriate, and non-suggestive manner to gather as much information at once and to hopefully reduce the amount of times that victims are asked to recount their traumatic experiences. So these interviews are done within the Children's Advocacy Center or CAC model in order to foster collaboration between multiple disciplines like child protective services, law enforcement, medical and mental health providers, and prosecutors. And the goal with that is to, again, reduce the amount of times victims are asked to talk about what happened, and to really make all of those investigations as collaborative as possible and just reduce trauma as much as we can. So at All Faiths, I started as a case tracker, then worked as a forensic interviewer, and then while still working on interviews, added the title of multidisciplinary team coordinator. So working a lot with child protective services and law enforcement to be as collaborative as possible. While I was working there at All Faiths, I ended up attending a conference, and that's where a speaker, Victor Veith, who's the CEO of Zero Abuse Project, said something that really shifted my goals and shifted my passion. He said that our goal in child welfare should not be to continue handling child abuse cases, that our goal should actually be to end child abuse. And this seems really impossible, especially when you're working in the field. Caseloads are so high, cases keep coming in, and it feels like that's almost a joke to say that child abuse could end. But the way he phrased it and the way he talked about it was that we have to believe that it is possible, and we have to, that way we can enable ourselves to take steps to ending child abuse and not just handling it. This really, like I said, shifted my perspective. It shifted my passions. I'm still super interested in forensic interviewing, but that interest becoming a lot more systemic in nature. I started to develop some big ideas, but ran into limitations as far as leadership, advancing in leadership with only a bachelor's degree. Also, at the time, the forensic interviewing program was functioning without a director. Our previous director, who was wonderful, had left for another position, and so we had been without a director for about a year. And again, in order to get that director leadership position, you need a master's degree. So this is when I decided I wanted to pursue a master's through Arizona State University in nonprofit management and leadership. At the same time, I also had some friends who were moving down here to South Texas. I was kind of having a difficult time still not having a director over at All Faiths. And so things just really lined up timing wise for me to be moving the same time as my friends. So in 2024, we all moved down here to the Rio Grande Valley in South Texas. I've been loving it. I love being near the beach. I'm learning a lot of Spanish. And I'm taking a little bit of a break from forensic interviewing, which has been really beneficial in allowing me the kind of mental capacity and the scheduling ability to work, to really focus and work on this master's degree. I'm currently working as an educator. I'm teaching at Idea Public Schools, which is another nonprofit. Their mission is to transform education by preparing graduates to succeed in college and life. And I get to play a pretty big role in this mission as I'm working as a career and technical education teacher. I teach 8th grade, so I'm teaching touch systems data entry and professional communication to 8th graders, which is so cool to watch them get excited about, especially as communication is one of my interests. So yeah, that's where I am now. I'm hopefully going to graduate in the spring of 2026. And the way that I would like this river of life to take me is eventually back to New Mexico. I'd like to step into a leadership or a director role at a children's advocacy center and implement some of these big ideas I have, whether that's at All Faiths or another children's advocacy center in New Mexico. This class I'm specifically excited about because I really want to work with the community to confront child abuse head on and not just to react to it. Things like outreach, education, and just encouraging open conversations about child abuse amongst community members. And then eventually, I would love to begin my own children's advocacy center in an underserved region of New Mexico. So that's me. I feel like I talked for a really long time, but thank you guys. I'm really excited to continue learning amongst you. And yeah, thank you. Bye.